All right, YouTube, how you doing? Welcome back to the channel and welcome back to another golf video. We're diving into the American Express here in this one. Like we did last week, we'll go through the course, which I'll talk about that in a second. There's a little bit of a hiccup there to discuss, but we'll go through the courses, talk about some players that I think fit the bill. We'll talk about some favorites, some underdogs, some dark horses, that type of thing. But make sure to keep an eye down on the pinned comment of this video. That'll take you to the Guy Boston Sports site, and all of my final plays, my updated plays as I lock them in, will be in there. So yeah, we'll get to all that on this show. Let's do it. All right, YouTube, how you doing? Welcome back to the channel. I tell you guys I'm a dummy all the time. They don't suck. They've just been sucking. Get them down to -3 for more juice than Jose Canseco in his prime. Tell me you're new without telling me you're new. So don't go jumping down my throat in the comments, right? If you want to fade me, or if you do want to ride me, this still leaves a bad taste in my mouth, right? And remember, more chins, more wins. So before we do get into any of that, we probably should talk about last week. You can see here, and my results are always going to be posted on GuyBostonSports.com. Lost 1.8 units last week. Nothing really went according to the plan once it came down to Sunday. A couple of those long shot guys that we liked, Lipsky, Knowles, like a couple of these guys looked great for plus 200, plus 250 in the top 40 and end up finishing, T45 or T60. So yeah, unfortunate start there, but I even said it in the video, like that was a tough course to peg, especially being, that first tournament or second tournament, I should say, of the year. So we're not going to take it to heart too much. Hopefully we can do a little bit better this week here. And like I said, we're diving into a tournament that's a little different than most. Now, there's a few of these out there, the rotational ones, in which they're going to play 3 different courses Thursday, Friday, Saturday, okay? And then Sunday rolls around, they'll make the cut. Sunday rolls around, and they'll be playing the Pete Dye Stadium course, which they have already played in one of those 3 days. So for the sake of this, we're going to dive into kind of looking at the course that they're going to be playing twice, right? La Quinta, and the other name is now escaping me at this point, but overall, they play once, regardless of the day, and then Sunday, they play the stadium course again. So at least 50% of the rounds, 4 guys that make the cut will be on this course. So take that with a grain of salt, when we look into these course numbers and that type of thing. But overall, just wanted to kind of put that out there. So in terms of this course, one thing that I wanted to jump out and note right away is birdies per round. I think there's only like 3 or 4 holes that play above par on the stadium course here. And you can see 4.67. And this is looking at, I believe, the last 3 years. 4.67 birdies per round. Tour average, a full birdie less than that. Same thing with the par 5s, par 4s. Like, this is playing under par. Only par 3 is looking like they're kind of right on tour average. 3-putt percentage, less than, obviously, in terms of, greater than 25 feet. So putting and birdie opportunities, and I guess I should say bogey avoidance, is something that we took strongly and considered. You can see this course, Pete Dye course, medium green size. I think they've actually added to these, if my research serves me correctly, they've added to these greens and made them a lot bigger. So I believe that medium could even play large. Overseed in terms of chipping grass, green grass, and then Bermuda in terms of rough grass. They're dormant Bermuda. But let's go ahead and dive into a few of the players here, and we'll talk about it. So if we look at the top of the leaderboard as of right now, scroll to the top, you could see outright will filter by Justin Thomas, the number 1 guy here, then Sung J M, Sam Burns, Patrick Cantlay, Finau, Wyndham Clark. Now, you'll notice as we scroll through, anyone that I have starred are guys that I do like, right? So let's go ahead and jump into a few of these top guys in particular. These first 3 I do really like for this tournament. We'll start with JT. So T26 at the Century, not all that tremendous. Off the tee was terrible. Around the green, not all that great. Rounds 1 looked a little bit better in the approach and whatnot, tee to green, but still didn't putt well, didn't get off the tee well. Round number 2, absolutely terrible. Round number 3 starts to turn it around from putting and approach, which are 2 big factors here on this course. And then round number 4 is really what I'm looking at here. Round number 4, you're going to have a tough time finding where you saw, Justin Thomas struggle. He had 9 birdie or betters, right? Hit 10 fairways, 15 greens in regulations, and tied 26. So he definitely kind of upticked where he was a little bit. And one thing I want to talk about, at least, let's dive into the course one more time, is right here. It's not exactly a bomber's paradise whole course. Only 0.8 strokes gained if you're less than 25 yards shorter than average, and then only 1.4 strokes gained per round, which can make a difference if you are longer than average. Right here is what I want to look at, the approach shot distribution in terms of yards. Clearly, there is a ton of shots coming from the fairway in that 50 to 125 yard range, and then 126 to 175, right? If we look at Justin Thomas, look at him in this 50 to 125 range. The strokes he's gaining is definitely good to see, right? Now, putting, obviously, not exactly tremendous for him in terms of his last few rounds. But another thing to note here, now we're talking about his recent play right there at the Century, right? If we just look at his American Express history, he played here last year, tied 3, finished at minus 27, and his strokes gained putting 3.1 off the tee here, 1.0, tee to green 5.2. So Justin Thomas, obviously not the most accurate driver, but we said this isn't really the strongest driving course. You do have to be accurate, so kind of hoping he can reel it in. But if he gets to this 50 to 125 range, I do think that he could be dialed in. Again, if we take a peek at that last round of the Century, his approach, his putting, everything was clicking. So let's hope he pulls that one into, obviously, this tournament, right? Now, the next guy we talked about, right, we looked at would be Sung Jim. He's number 2 in terms of betting odds as of right now. Finished sole 3 at the Century. Rounds 1, meh. Rounds 2, great. Rounds 3, great. Round 4, put people to bed and obviously solidified his spot there. I like him for multiple reasons. Now, his driving accuracy is definitely up there. His putting, he's going to gain on the field 0.26, right? Birdie conversion, tour average is 30. He's at nearly 39%, which is great. And then his 3-putt percentage. We talked about the 3-putt percentage being pretty crucial on the stadium course, right? You have to be lower than tour average. Well, Sung Jam, needless to say, is about a third of tour average. So really like him in this spot as well. We'll get into some advanced numbers in a second. The next one's going to be Sam Burns. Definitely liking him. Gained ton of strokes putting in that last round at the Century, which putting is going to be massive here. What I'm a little concerned about is look at his strokes gained in terms of where we need him from. Now, when he's in the fairway, he's definitely gaining some strokes. But anywhere else, he does kind of drop off. His 3-putt percentage is kind of right on where we need it to be, in terms of this course. But the two that I like, gaining a stroke per round here versus the field, putting, and then his birdie conversion, 46%. You need to make birdies, especially in this tournament when you're playing multiple courses. And look at the winning numbers here. I mean, winning numbers wise, we can actually look at that, right? Winners in the last, few here. So this is, I guess just we could look at last year, right? Winning number, where's the score? Do we have that? Nick Dunlap. Let's go to American. He won at 29 under a year ago. You know what I mean? So definitely going to want some under par numbers, which would mean getting out there and making those birdies. So I like Sam Burns as well. And then another guy that's high up on the list here would be Tony Finau. He didn't play all that tremendously at the Century. He had one good round. I think it was, round 3. Still finished tied 15th with all of these strokes lost. The putting was crucial, right? 4.2 strokes gained putting. Another guy that's going to convert his birdies and 3-putt. And he's going to be fairly accurate. So, yeah, I do think that this could be a nice little spot for Tony Finau overall. Now, a few other names that I'm looking at here. If we filter to favorites, when I say a few names, I have a lot of guys favorited in this spot. But I do like Beau Hossler. Where is he at? Beau Hossler. Let's see if I can find you. You're here somewhere, I think. All right, there he is. That seemed to be a little bit harder than it needed to be. So he hasn't had anything that we could see so far this year, right? Century, Sony, no-goes. 2024, 2023 at this course, not all that tremendous, but we do take a peek at how he kind of matches up on the stadium course. Great in terms of bogey avoidance, 3-putt avoidance, birdie or better, great. Strokes around the green, approach shots that 90 to 160 range, off the tee. Everything looks pretty damn good. Now, not exactly the best putter in the field, right? In fact, if we look at this putting-wise, you're going to see a few names that we haven't talked about yet. We did talk about Sam Burns, but Ben Griffin, Jacob Bridgman, and then Matt Kuchar, all guys that I do think could have some strong spots here. If we look at their top 30 numbers, top 40, they're not out yet, but maybe some consideration for top 30s here in this spot. Again, we're looking at a lot of putting, birdies or better, a few other names. Nico Echevarria, I mean, the guy's been doing phenomenal, right? Came in second last week, tied 32. It's red, but still, that's nearly a top 30, right, at the Century. But Sony last week tied 2. The number 3 guy in terms of what we have favored, and the number 4 guy, I believe, yeah, even if we filter out our favorites, number 3 guy in the field when it comes to birdie or better. And then bogey avoidance, he's up there as well in the top, 10 or so of our favored numbers. So I do think that some guys, that obviously are going to convert on the putts, that are going to be strong on the approach, that are going to make more birdies, that are going to avoid bogeys. It seems pretty simple, but definitely a factor here at this course. Now, a few other guys that have played that we haven't really talked about too much yet that have played well here at this tournament. You have JT Poston, right? JT Poston didn't look all that tremendous at the Century, tied 40, got cut from the Sony Open. We filter this to the American Express, and he's actually, still kind of been spotty. Look at these numbers, right? He's been strong with the putter, which how many times am I going to say putting matters, right? He's been kind of spotty everywhere else, off the tee, around the green approach, but he's got T25, T6, and T11 over the last 3 years, and wouldn't you know this? Look at that approach. Strokes gained, whether it's in the fairway or in the rough, he's gaining a ton from that 50 to 125 range, right? Not 3-putting, right? Has a slightly higher birdie conversion than tour average, and he's driving the ball accurately. So, yeah, I do think that this could be a spot in which JT Poston, though his, recent tournaments so far have not been all that tremendous, T40 and cut, I think that he could kind of fit the bill of what we're looking for here in this tournament in the American Express, because of being able to play, hopefully makes the cut, playing twice here on the Pete Dye Stadium course. So another name that we're definitely looking at, but I'll just keep this up so you guys can pause and take a peek at it. These are guys that we identified that really do fit this course fairly well. So I'll go through them really quickly. Lucas Glover cashed for us yesterday, or last week, right? He looks really good in terms of what we have. So let's get to our model. Let's just reset. So in terms of that, we have Lucas Glover. Where was he at? Lucas Glover. Approach looks good. Bogey avoidance looks good. Kind of middle of the pack in everything else. But obviously, Bo Hostler, guy we like. Ben Griffin, we like. Matt Kuchar, Sam Burns, Nico. We got Max Grazerman, who we haven't really looked into yet. But in terms of birdie or better, 4th in the field. Bogey avoidance, 4th as well. Nothing for the Sony from him. Century T24, and then when he played here last year, T56. But this is a guy that is coming in with some really, really strong putting numbers. Zozo, obviously a while back, right? But putting overall, like if we look down at his putting, 39% birdie conversion, gaining nearly a stroke and a half per round versus the field here, and his 3 percentage is way down. So yeah, if he can really dial in, I would say, his approach and is around the green, then this should be a guy that can definitely make some coin for us in this one, because you throw into the fact that, he is, what are his odds right now, actually, as we look at it, right? So Grazerman, yeah, top 20 plus 150 is a 35. I mean, this could be a decent look there for him as well. I like him. But Max McGreevy, we talked to Bridgman, JJ Spawn, another guy that I'm considering, Mac Meisner. We have Justin Thomas we talked about. Kurt Kitayama could be an interesting one. I mean, I really have him in here because of that bogey avoidance, right? T37 at the Sony. We have Lucas Glover, who we had top 40. He cashed. We talked about him, right? Daniel Berger, I still want to have some faith in, but man, we were big on him last week, and he let us down. JT Poston, we talked about him. We posted about Lee Hodges, T10 last week, got cut 2 years in a row from this tournament. Prior to that, did have a T3 here, but should kind of fit the bill fairly well. I mean, he's the darkest red number in terms of around the green, but I'm really focusing on, obviously, like I've mentioned, bogey avoidance and birdies or better. Doug Gim, Tony Finau, we mentioned. Patrick Cantlay, actually a name that we didn't really dig into just yet. So let's look at Patrick Cantlay, because I think that he's going to be kind of the prize child for a lot of guys in this spot. Ball speed, driving accuracy, kind of middle of the pack there, right? In terms of what he's done lately, Century, T15, he putted well, was around the green well, didn't do too much else all that superior, and even lost, as he got closer to the green, lost strokes in rounds 4 and rounds 3. Now, he putted actually really well in round 3, so I shouldn't say that. Him at the American in the past, 9th, 26, 52, I'm not exactly sold on Cantlay, but I don't hate him, if that makes sense. And then Patrick Fishburne, another sort of long shot here. So a couple of these long shots that we mentioned, if you guys are interested in long shots, Bridgman, McGreevy, even Kuchar, Doug Gim, and then I'd still consider Glover, Hodges, and maybe even a little look at Bo Hostler from a long shot perspective. Obviously, a lot of the guys that have played well and fit the course bill are going to be way up here. They're the favorites. I mean, Sung J M, 25, 18, 11, 12, 10, pretty damn good. Justin Thomas last year, T3. We talked about these guys, right? So obviously, guys, that's a lot of information thrown at you. We went through some of the favorites, but yeah, these essentially on the screen right now, like I mentioned, if you want to pause it or something like that, to look at kind of the guys that via the data I whittled down and chiseled down, and this is now where my plays are going to come from. We don't fully have them as of yet, but that's what the final plays are for. So yeah, those are the guys that I'm liking. Definitely want to get the ball rolling on some matchups. We had a lot of finishing positions last week, which last year our strength was matchups, right? It's the biggest way to correlate or make this sort of like a football game or a basketball game where it's like one versus the other, and we can really get data-driven there. So yeah, we'll probably have some more matchups this week because it's a bigger field as well, but keep in mind if you are rolling with anything or locking anything yourself, that we do have multiple courses here, and I only looked at one of the courses for guys that fit the bill, but we talked more about recent form and obviously recent performance at the American Express more so than some of these spots. I mean, the birdie or better and bogey avoidance are two major things, but just wanted to give you guys that information and show you guys what I'm seeing, so hope you guys do enjoy that. If you made it this far in the video, go ahead and comment 16. I love doing the golf videos. I know these things as of right now won't have the same viewership and whatnot as obviously our NBA, NFL, MLB, any of our mainstream sports, right? But I'm going to try and get as many of these golf videos out as I can because this is a sport that I love to wager on, love to play, love to watch. So hopefully you guys are in the same boat. If you have not tried it yet, I'm not saying go out there and go ballistic, but what an amazing sport, whether you're doing round by round bets or even, tournament long matchups or taking a guy T20 or top 20. Really, really, really fun sport if you guys have not tried it yet. But anyways, that's all you have from me. Catch you guys in the next one, right? Peace out. Alright, YouTube, how you doing? Welcome back to the channel. I tell you guys I'm a dummy all the time. They don't suck. They've just been sucking. Get them down to -3, 4 more juice than Jose Canseco in his prime. Tell me you're new without telling me you're new. So don't go jumping down my throat in the comments, right? If you want to fade me, or if you do want to ride me, this still leaves a bad taste in my mouth, right? And remember, more chins, more wins.